In 2004, South Park released an episode that was about its creators and not its characters. It was an episode made to vent to millions. Douche and Turd, yes, you heard that right, of Season 8 was Matt Stone and Trey Parker being sick of the criticism that South Park was irresponsible and apolitical. People wanted a stance on the election that was firm. So they made this, Stan refusing to vote, an episode ending that acts as a thesis. They were defending their right not to engage without being labeled the bad guys. Their right to stay out of it. Stop asking us to care the way you care. That was the point. And here we are, 20-some years later, and South Park is still on. Why? Because South Park became the perfect social time capsule. But how? Well, that's where things get weird. And somehow also includes the battle between the PS4 and the Xbox One. So fast. South Park is great in spite of how it's made. Or so you think. You know the story and have heard it 100 times. Episodes were made in just 6 days, start to finish. There were times early on when the final episodes weren't done until airing already started. So international feeds got slightly different versions of the episode.
Why the fuck am I here?
But this wasn't just some sort of gimmick. It actually informed the show in real ways outside of being contemporary. An example is Killing Kenny.
That poor Kenny. Kenny's got it bad.
This was a tool before it was a joke, literally. If an episode ran long, they could kill Kenny instead of adding scenes. Or, if animation broke, which in early seasons did indeed happen, certain scenes just wouldn't animate properly, they'd kill Kenny if he was involved in a scene as an emergency button to cut the problematic sequence out. And this philosophy extends to the way the show's written, and part of the reason it's survived. Trey Parker's no-fat writing philosophy is great. If a scene doesn't advance the plot or a joke, it's cut. You cut it. That's it. No and then writing or storytelling. It's therefore or but. You'll also see a lot of people talk about this, and it's taught in film school now. That's right. The South Park guys' writing philosophy is taught in film school now. 6 days means that the show reflected unfinished public opinion. Events that hadn't reached their conclusion. No hindsight or smoothing. Most satire looks backwards, dude. South Park looks sideways. America as miniature. South Park uses the town as America in miniature. For instance, in South Park, originally, Matt and Trey would tend to record adult lines first and then adjust the kid lines in response to reinforce the core structure of South Park. Kids responding to and parsing through adult idiocy. The season 5 episode, It Hits the Fan, is a great example. The town destroys itself over a word after shit is said on TV. That's it, over that one word. An exploration of faux outrage, media fixation on words over their substance. It uses the town of South Park as hyperbole for America's slow motion sprint towards overreaction over media. South Park is framed on the show as a small, isolated mountain town, dude. But the reality is, it's used as a black hole, smack dab in the near middle of the map for America's problems. Big and small. It can only do this effectively because it's not afraid of being wrong about something, of picking the wrong side, which leads to no one cares if you were right. Part of becoming a social time capsule is not aging in the traditional sense. The show doesn't age because it isn't trying to be correct. It's trying to be funny. It's borderline anti-messaging, and you feel it. Certain early episodes literally have dead air, no noise at all, because even though the network people hated it, they thought it was funny. The point, conviction in your idea lasts way longer than an opinion. And this is true of why South Park feels both so nostalgic and prescient. With few exceptions, South Park isn't there to make a statement. If you had a time machine, for instance, you'd be back in a place with every possible opinion, dude. And that's true of any era. But what you'd see is the language, the logic made in both good and bad faith, the hysteria. Again, conviction in your idea, at least tangible ones like show, story, or characters, will always outlast your opinions. In that way, you can view South Park like tiny little satirical period pieces. That's a very unique reality of a show made under very unique circumstances.
Age isn't a number. It is a little bit, but not.
But when something runs for as long as South Park has, well, things tend to happen. They didn't here though. A lot of shows that run for anywhere near this long, well, they soften. They work to protect their legacy. They avoid controversy. South Park burned its own reputation every week. It mocks its own audience. No one is safe. Take something that feels so specific when you look at it now, like the Black Friday trilogy of episodes. An epic saga that pokes fun at the height of Game of Thrones hysteria, at the absolute absurdity of Black Friday, at how the console wars frame consumerism, at our ravenous hunger to visualize the chaos we look down on through our screens. And somehow, that description slowly went from very specific to kinda timeless, real fast. You were probably one of those people arguing to death about the Xbox One versus the PS4. You were the butt of the joke, and somehow might still be, but not out of spite, because it's funny.
Show me a mirror, baby.
South Park is one of the greatest shows ever put to television. It is a mirror, and one that has grown with you. A narrative feat most shows die before accomplishing. Douche and Turd, which I brought up at the start, is a great example of why people still love South Park. Its creators care. They care so much, they're willing to put themselves on the screen for you to see them at their weirdest, rawest, and most vulnerable. And the Black Friday trilogy is an even greater microcosm of what makes the show so special. At the end of it all, the show doesn't really choose a side on, say, which console is better. In fact, it argues that the marketing machines behind them might be the thing that's poisoning the industry. Or not. The boys end up wanting to play outside instead of using those new consoles in the end anyway. Why? Because South Park argues that choosing a side might be overrated, dude. It's okay not to care. Or maybe it isn't. And maybe you should have some conviction. It doesn't matter. Or better yet, who gives a shit about having opinions anyway? Well, actually, maybe you should. The real point here is art doesn't have to be that serious. Sometimes you just want to laugh a little.
You guys want to play outside or something?
Pushing to